Yes, guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Coach Indy here. We're actually starting a brand new segment on our channel called Coaching Phrases and Words, okay? So you might have been at games in the past and heard something from a manager on the touchline, or you've heard pundits on TV using certain terminology when they're analysing games, or you've heard maybe a manager in a post-match interview use certain buzzwords but actually not know what it means. And a big one at the moment is using the term low block. Now, if you're a coach, if you're a manager, if you're a pundit, you know exactly what this means. It's been around for a number of years now. If you do your badges, you know exactly what I'm talking about. However, the average Joe, the average fan will not know exactly what this means and what it actually looks like. And that's what we're going to be doing on this segment from week to week or every couple of weeks. And incidentally, today's buzzword or buzz phrase is actually going to be a low block. I thought it's quite fitting to use that. So without further ado, let's dive into today's video. I hope you guys enjoy this.
A low block is when a team defends, generally speaking, in the defensive third, maybe creeping into the middle third as well, in sort of a compact and narrow shape as well, okay? That can be done in any formation. It doesn't matter what the formation, the principles are exactly the same. Obviously, the positioning might be slightly different, but the principles in terms of being narrow and compact and aggressive and tight together are all the same. So, as you can see, we've got the defensive third here, middle third in the middle, and then the attacking third here. So we have to worry about the attacking third for this purpose. Going to just incorporate the reds now. So goalkeepers in, back, 4, 8, 2 strikers, 9 and 10, and then we've got 11 out wide. So effectively, this team here is going to be playing a 1-4-4-2 formation. Okay, that's the first thing to recognise. So this obviously can be better, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail next. Okay, so moving on the low block a bit further, just to make it a bit better, we obviously need to refine this and make it a bit better so we're even more difficult to break down. So as you can see, we've still got the defensive third, middle third, and the attacking third. Attacking third is irrelevant. Most players are in the defensive third, although a couple of players are on the cusp of the middle third as well, which is absolutely fine. It just depends on your setup of how you want to set up your team really and what formation you're playing. Second thing to add is we've added some numbers on the left-hand side. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 here. And what they are reference points to each zone as well. So 1 is here, it's this top sort of zone here. 2, 3 is this sort of thick end in the middle here, central area 4, and then zone 5 at the bottom, okay? So what we want to try and do is try and make ourselves a bit more narrow and a bit more compact and a bit more together. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and eliminate zone 1 and eliminate zone 5. So we don't want any players to go in those zones. So as you can see, 2 is kind of on the cusp of 4 and 5, so we're going to move that person into zone 4. 7 is on the cusp, or is in zone 5, but also on the cusp of the middle zone as well. So we're going to move him into zone 4, but also make sure he's in the defensive third. 5 we're just going to narrow up. 6 we're going to narrow up. 3 we're going to bring into zone 2, and then 11 we're going to bring into zone 2 as well, but also make sure they're in the defensive third as well. Okay. 4 and 8, they're in quite reasonable positions, just maybe making sure they're a bit more narrow because we don't want them to go through the central area. So straight away, we've now got most players in zone 2, or every player in zone 2, 3 and 4. Keep us nice and high. We've obviously got a couple of players in the middle third here, and we want to try and prevent that from happening. We want to try and make yourself even more difficult to break down. So our distance between the back four is good, midfield is good, but obviously the strikers we can make better. There's some teams like Burnley, and Sean Dyche, he likes to have both his strikers, if they are playing 2, kind of on the cusp of that defensive third and the middle third. How I like to play my team is play a 9 up top and have the 10 in that position there, just because it gives you an out ball. If you do win the ball, we've got someone there to harass the defenders, hold on to the ball, link it up, etc. As opposed to having 2 and then you having to, you know, if you lump it long, it just, the phases are going to come back and it's difficult for you to get out. So I like to have my 9 playing that a little bit higher as well in there. Again, most players, or every player is in zone 2, 3 and 4. The distance between our defensive unit, our middle and our strikers is quite good. It's probably about 30 yards from the edge of the box to probably say the D area there, which is really, really good. And the distance between 5 and the 6 and the 4 and 8 is really, really compact. We want to make sure that is nice and narrow. We've obviously got the 1 to affect the through ball, or the click pass, and the 10 there could be affecting the holding midfielder. Okay, this next part, we're just going to create a couple of different scenarios of how a team would move in shape and making sure the distance is correct, and also making sure we stay in that low block. So the greens have now come in. They're playing a 1-4-4-2 formation. 4's a bit deeper from the 8. He's actually on the ball in this scenario here. Again, the reds are in their position, defending in that low block. So obviously the 10s can affect the ball if he needs to, and so can the 9 as well, depending on what their roles are. So first scenario is just going to be the 4's going to play a little sort of spray pass across to the 3. Straight away from that position there, 7 is going to go and engage a little bit in their shape. They stay inside that block. The 2 is going to come across, knowing full well that if it comes to 11, he can go and engage. 5 is going to come across. The 6 is going to come across. And the 3 all of a sudden now becomes into that zone 3. So all of a sudden now you've got the 3, 6 and the 5 in zone 3, and you've got the 2 still in zone 4 but ready to go into zone 5 if needed. The rest of the team, so the 8 will shuffle across as well, just to protect the passing lane into the 9 there. 4 would come across as well to try and protect a pass or potential clip into the 10, and then the 11 would also be in here, but would play slightly higher, so he's in zone 3 as well, maybe in a slightly cheating position. So if they do win the ball back, then he's a little bit higher and he can go and win the ball and look for a bit of a counter attack. 10 will come across as well in here into this position. Maybe the 8 would come across and support, and then so would the 9 shuffle across as well, probably play on this outside centre back as well. If anything plays back, then he can affect that ball. So straight away now you're in zones 4 and 3 only. Okay, so straight away we're still defending compact and in our defensive third, but now we're kind of this side of the ball, i.e. on the left hand side or the bottom of the tactics board. If the 3 plays out to the 7 and the 3 maybe decides to threaten maybe a bit of an overlap, then these two have got a job to work together. So maybe the 2 goes out to the ball, affects the ball, and 7's just being aware of the 3. Now does he make a bit of an overlap down here? Does he make an underlap into that position there? He's just got to be mindful of that position. Okay, so the 2's now into slot 5. 5 will come into probably half and half in 3 and 4. 6 will move across, and then 3 will also come across, and probably looking to be roughly in line with your far post, making sure the distance between the units, especially these 3 here, is very, very good and not too big. 9 and 10 might be threatening to come across. Again, 8 would block that passing lane, 4 would come across, so would the 11, again in that cheating position. 10 in here, 9 across in here. So again, the team's always coming across and always making sure you're kind of in that line with that far post. Yep. So you're kind of almost half of zone 3 is almost gone, or a quarter of the zone 3 is gone in there. And it's always affecting the side of the pitch where the ball is at. Obviously, the opposition might play a little bit differently. The 4 might come across, the 2 might come across in a sort of defensive position just in case a transition happens. The 7 might hold his position out wide just in case there's a big switch. So that's kind of making sure we stay in that low defensive block in the defensive third, but also making sure that we have that outlet with this number 11 on the transition. Number 1 is playing nice and high, making sure you can sort of protect the cross if it does come in that position there. But also good communication with the back 3 and then with the midfielders and the strikers as well.
Okay team, so in this situation here, Liverpool are playing a low block, making sure they are horizontally and vertically nice and narrow and compact, and forcing Wolves to sort of play around the outside of them. They don't want to allow any sort of central passes in sort of zone 3. So backwards pass absolutely fine, so Jimenez are having to play backwards in midfield, and the strikers are forcing and affecting the holding midfielder Moutinho there, making them play sideways, not forwards, no penetrating passes. Again, the midfield is sort of narrow and compact, shifting across into zone 4 and 5, and allowing for maybe that switch of play, again another lateral pass. Now the team's going to sort of move across, the 3 is going to get out into zone 1, and the holding midfielder is actually going to go into zone 2 and affect that sort of midfield run if you like. That's absolutely fine, as long as the defenders now can defend the box, whether it be through a headed clearance or a foot clearance. Once that's happened there, then you can sort of just make sure you clear the box, sort of make sure you gain your territory back, get outside the box as well, and then make sure you regroup in terms of your shape again. And then just again repeating the same situation, making sure you force the team to play outside and lateral passes or backwards passes.